Dustin, we're talking about the Oakland series.
Yeah, it was quite a series, that's for sure.
Well, Dustin, I did have the pleasure of attending the first game, so we can go through things very briefly before we get to some talking points. Game number one, unfortunately, a 5-4 loss that I attended. This game, I really came into this game thinking the Jays need a sweep from this series.
They definitely, well, I don't know if they needed it, but you know, it was a big opportunity to get some needed wins. Let me ask you, Al, you've been to two games this year. What's your record now with this loss?
1-1.
Okay, so
So
even Steve,
the
even
reason
Steven.
why, so the Jays do lose this game 5-4, but the reason why I do say that they should have swept this series is that on Friday night, Dustin, that was the Oakland A's 20th win of the season. That's right.
Jesus.
Before, like coming into that game, their winning percentage was less than 250.
Wow.
And let me tell you, we sat in the bleacher section out in right field, and we definitely reminded the Oakland A's of how shitty they are.
Well, it was certainly a winnable game. I mean, they were tied all the way down to the wire, and unfortunately, Romero um, did something he rarely does and blew a, well, not necessarily a save, but blew an inning he was expected to hold.
Well, I thought that probably one of the looking back at the game, I think one of the key I don't know moments, but Bassett giving up a 3-0 lead in the first inning. I think, when you put yourself behind the eight ball like that, it is only 3 runs with, an offense that's supposed to be one of the best in the league. But you just make it really hard on yourself when the opposition comes to the plate, their first swings at the plate, and they get 3 runs.
Yeah, Bassett's been, he's been pretty strong, over the last month or so, but these last three or four starts from him have been a little bit of a struggle. He's kind of had a hard time. So, but honestly, he kept them in the game. He gave them a chance to win. It wasn't a blowout, that's for sure.
Well, he definitely settled in after that kind of rough first inning, where we saw an Oakland A hit home run into right field. And being in right field, I don't actually usually sit in the outfield, but the ball kind of, starts arcing high in the air. And in the outfield, you kind of just know at a certain point a ball's likely going to go out. Speaking of home runs, Dustin, Vladimir Guerrero hits his first home run of the season at home. Thought that was a massive moment. And we're going to go over his stat line for the weekend, but he really broke out against the Oakland Athletics.
It's definitely got to be a monkey off his back a little bit in terms of just, I'm sure he's been hearing it and feeling it that, he hasn't had a home run at home, but also, that his sort of home runs are down overall on the year. I mean, he's only had what now with this one and one in the next game, only 11 on the year, and we're at the halfway point. That's not an expected sort of home run total for him. 20, 22 home runs in a year is not what we want to see from Vladdy.
Definitely not. And saying that, Vladimir Guerrero and his 3-run home run was essentially, you know, 3/4 of the offense that the Jays got. And going into the top of the ninth inning, the Jays and A's were tied, as you said. And there was one inning in particular, I think really highlights kind of this early season. And actually, it's not just one inning. I think it's both the bottom of the eighth and the bottom of the ninth.
Hmm.
And I'll call the bottom of the eighth like a Blue Jays inning because, and maybe more of a Blue Jays inning of late, because that inning ends in three straight strikeouts. So we have,
Brutal.
um, yeah, it was brutal. Springer and Bo Bichette are sent packing, looking, and then Belt goes down swinging, and you know, I don't know. There's something about like, especially right now with a team that is struggling at the plate. There's something about striking out looking is just absolutely the most frustrating thing ever. Now, of course, in this case, there were only three batters in the inning. All of them got out, so there were no runners on base. But this is it was a pivotal inning where they really, if they got something out of that inning, with Romano coming on in the ninth, you really kind of flip the game and put the A's on their back.
Yeah, it's a lot different look when you're chasing, a winning run than when you're trying to climb back from a deficit for sure. I mean, as we saw the Blue Jays try and do in the bottom of the ninth, with Vladdy's double, and then just Chapman line out, Merrifield lines out, Varsho flies out. You know, it's a lot tougher to climb back than to get that one run across.
For sure, and but that ninth inning was just more of the same. Vladimir Guerrero, having that great game number one in this series, he gets on base with a double, and you're thinking, hey, we got something going here. Get a run, get into extra innings, make something happen.
Hmm.
And I think another component of this Jays early season, that bad luck kind of reared its head when Matt Chapman scorches a ball to third base. Like when he hit it, I thought that was for sure a double down the line, and then just the ball just stopped at the third baseman. I'm like, and the whole stadium just kind of like, oh, like just kind of dropped, right?
Yeah,
And that was if he Vladimir Guerrero obviously scores on that if it gets past the third baseman, but that likely also puts Matt Chapman in scoring position. Now, I say likely because not for sure, because earlier in the game, Matt Chapman tried to get a double where he hit a ball into the corner and was promptly thrown out at second. So, I don't know that left fielder, what his arm, and maybe they were underrating him in the game, but yeah, it just kind of seemed like, inning starts well and then kind of just gets extinguished quickly after that.
yeah, it's a little bit like you said of a Blue Jays kind of inning. This is especially against the A's. I mean, like I said, this was a winnable game, and you wanted to you do everything you can to just push a run across there, and you get some bad luck. It's hard to take sometimes.
But as baseball is, you come back the next day and you can really flip the page with which the Jays do, and they come out early and they jump out to an early 3-1 lead and end up winning this game 7-3. We actually have another Vladimir Guerrero home run. This one more of a line drive. The home run in game number one was more of kind of like a towering home run. This one was just a shot to center field, and Jose Barrios. I don't. I almost think we should really even stop talking about this, but he had another great performance and a great starting pitching performance from him.
Yeah, I mean, I sound like a broken record, but he's turned back into that reliable guy. I mean, you know, where would he be without him and Kikuchi, on with this rotation? Because, we'll talk later about Manoah, but, it's just so great to see the comeback years from Barrios.
Well, 6.0 innings pitched, two earned runs, two walks, eight Ks, and one home run given up. I think pretty standard outing from him that we've seen, and I'll take that and hope for another one this week against San Francisco.
Yeah, and this is the kind of game that we've been missing. Just the kind of game where you don't need the closer to close it out. I mean, I know Romero pitched, but they were winning by four in the ninth, and they didn't really.
Actually, Dustin, he did technically get a save.
How?
So I did look up the save rules, and because of
It does say save.
it usually is three runs, but he came on, and I think because of the runners in scoring position, it turns into a save. But he essentially got a one out save. I was actually going to
Hmm.
send something to you and Rob as I was reading about that this week because they talked about Romano getting the save, and I was like, what? What are you talking about? Like it was 4 runs, but
Yeah,
it's a bit more there's a bit more to it, the save rule than that.
man, it's like a stat pad.
Yeah, it is.
He
It's
could almost
total
give himself a stave in that situation. But
totally.
yeah, no. So still, the point stands is that it was a little bit more comfortable win, the kind of win that I thought that the Jays would you kind of have a lot more of than we've been having. We've had having these nail biters, one run games even when we do win, and it's just been so tense and a struggle.
All right, Dustin, I am because we're on the topic. I do want to go into the following conditions for a save in baseball. So number one, he is the finishing pitcher in a game won by his team. Okay, we got that. Two, he is not the winning pitcher. That has to be someone else. Number three, he is credited with at least a third of an inning. Okay, we got three there. And
Okay.
number four, he satisfies, here's the key, he satisfies one of the following conditions. Number one, he enters the game with a lead of no more than 3 runs and pitches for at least 1 inning. Okay, that's not that one. Number two, he enters the game with a potential tying run on either base. Sorry, on either on base, at bat, or on deck, and he pitches at least 3 innings. So
Hmm.
he met number two is how he got a save.
So the tying run came on deck, or was it to the plate? No, it couldn't have been to the plate.
I think it was on deck.
On deck. Interesting. Well,
But
you
yeah,
know,
he did get in. He added to his save tally, which Romano seems to be pretty comfortable at this season,
yeah, I think he's
picking
the
up the saves.
saves. I think he's the saves leader this year so far. I heard that, and I haven't confirmed it, but he's got 23 or something like that.
Well, he was competing with the AL lead in saves anyway, so that doesn't really surprise me. I do not have the stat in front of me, so I
Got
don't want to.
Yeah, he's got 23. I don't know if that's the lead, but I heard something like that recently.
Jays go into game number three off of the back of that 7-3 win. And this game is a real blowout. It is a 12-1 win. But what we should really be talking about is a fantastic Yusei Kikuchi performance. 7 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 8 Ks. And of course, that 1 run came via home run, Dustin.
Yeah, well, he'll do that. I mean, but yeah, an absolute masterclass from Kikuchi. He was, very animated on the mound as well, and he seemed to be having a lot of fun, when you're performing well, when you're throwing the pitches where you want, when you want, it, you know, he's he's kind of a character out there. So it's good to see him, have some levity and just pitch really well. He's been a bright spot in that rotation for sure.
Over the weekend, Dustin, I did note that the Jays actually are in the wild card pitcher now. Well, they've always been in the pitcher, but they were actually in the wild card. Like if the season, if the season would ended today, the
Right.
Jays would have made the playoffs. They were a half game up on both the Astros and the Angels. So something to keep in mind. Like we know that the Jays have always been kind of floating around that wild card mark, but let's see if they can make this stick now, and see if they can maybe put a little bit of distance in between them and the AL West teams.
Yeah, I mean that's where you want to be coming into the midway point for sure. I mean, given the way the season's gone so far, which hasn't been bad, but been below expectations. And yeah, just you want to kind of stick in that wild card picture and hopefully keep a spot. And then I think they need to sort of still need to get on a run here to kind of make up for that May disaster that happened.
Yeah, the series that they lost in May, I think they're going to be fighting that most of the year. But this team has the ability to win series. We've seen that really all year.
Yeah, I think they need to take opportunities like this stretch that they've got coming up here, that we were talking off air about. You know, we got Boston, we got Detroit, and we got the White Sox just before the All Star break. Those are, some below 500. Well, not Boston, but they're sort of bottom of their respective leagues or mid, tier teams that the Blue Jays have an opportunity to really beat up on and go on a run here, going into the All Star break, and hopefully, um, you know, enter that All Star game and break at a high note.
Well, Dustin, I think a key contributor to that will be Vladimir Guerrero. He had probably one of the best series of any player the Jays, I think, have had this year. And I did want to note that you did send me a text on Friday while I was at the game. Mark that Vladdy bomb as the turning point. And well, it definitely, the rest of the series went quite well for him. He had 6 hits, 4 runs, 6 RBIs, 1 walk, and 2 home runs. Like he totally bossed it.
Yeah, and he just that whole series, he looked really good and just really comfortable. He looked like he's, found his swing at least to a certain degree, and hopefully that bodes well for the future. Because the Blue Jays really need Vladdy. I mean, it's kind of like so goes Vladdy, so goes the Blue Jays. I think over this second half.
Well, and I think you definitely noticed his contributions this weekend. Like without Vladimir Guerrero on the weekend, they definitely lose that first game. But he's really the straw that stirs the drink, that kind of alpha dog, and hopefully that's a bit of a lube to get those wheels turning into the All Star break and beyond.
Yeah, let's hope.
All right, well, talk about the future. We had some news today in that Alek Manoah made his first Florida Complex League start, and Dustin, it did not go well, at least numbers wise.
Not well at all, to say the least. 2.2 innings pitched, 11 earned runs, 10 hits, 2 walks, 3 Ks, and 2 home runs given up. Now, that's certainly a very ugly line that you don't want to see. Um, I guess some caveats to those numbers might be one, the defense behind him may not be, you know, major league caliber. Um, and two, we don't know what his mandate was going out for that inning, right? Theoretically, they could have said, "Okay, Alek, you're going to go out here, but you're going to just throw fastballs. Oh, I just want you to throw fastballs," right? These kids, they're 18, 17, 19 years old. I mean, they're gonna they're gonna be able
They
to
can
hit.
hit a
They can hit
fastball,
a
right?
fastball,
Like,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So we don't know what that is, and I guess we have to rely on the coaching staff and the team around him to sort of tell us whether or not he looked good and whether or not he's progressing. So I guess we'll see moving forward what they say about it. I haven't heard much, but it doesn't look good on the surface, that's for sure.
Well, I did before us hopping on air to record today. I did kind of browse an article, and John Schneider, didn't seem to be too worried. Although John Schneider's a very cool head, it seems like these days,
Mm,
and he didn't seem to be terribly worried about it. And um, they definitely added many in the article that I read. It was many caveats where it was, we don't know what they're working on, what he's looking for, and they could be looking at release points or
yeah,
what
exactly.
kind of spin he's getting on his slider. Your suggestion of probably just throwing fastballs, like I don't know if that's I we didn't see the game, but I that sounds like a decent shout, to be honest. Given the stat line, and given the opposition that he's playing, they're high school and college players, and this is their first professional outing. But these guys aren't stiffs, right? They were
No,
drafted and signed for a reason, and pretty much. most baseball players, if they're going to get to that level, they could probably hit a fastball.
for
And
sure.
it's not like Manoah is hitting triple digits anyway.
Yeah, and it's not like he's going out there with a advanced scouting on each hitter, and okay, this guy's weak to the arm side, curveball, or like he doesn't know any of that. He doesn't know these pitchers, and the catcher behind the plate also, is he's a young 18, 19-year-old too, and he who knows how he's calling the game, if he's calling it any good. So there's a lot of caveats there. It doesn't look great on the stat line, but we'll have to trust that the Blue Jays know what they're doing, and that they're working on doing the best for Alek Manoah at least.
Well, I don't think he can get sent down any further. So,
True enough.
right. But yeah, I think we all hope that Alek Manoah can come back. I personally, you know, if I I'm kind of in the place where if we see him again and he pitches well, it's a bonus because I think they're kind of trying to rebuild this guy for the long term, and that's why he is in the Florida Complex League. Although I do note that they were talking about, oh, the Florida Complex League, there won't be as much attention. I don't know about that.
Yeah,
It is 2023, and with the internet, pretty much everybody, like, literally, I can tell you that the guys I went to the J game on Friday with were emailing about it, and if they're emailing about it, like one of those guys doesn't even have a cell phone. Okay, so if they're emailing about it, yeah, the world knows, right? So I
true.
don't think he's going to be able to hide, but I do think he has the confidence and makeup that he can respond. So.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody has the sort of personality to get through this kind of tough thing, it's him. It's a tough road to hoe that he's got ahead of him. I doubt very highly we're going to see him anytime soon. I mean, maybe this year somewhere if he really kind of picks it up and figures it out. But, my sort of expectation setting right now is, we'll see him 2024 spring training, and we'll see, how we can turn it around there.
What in terms of the plan to replace Manoah, it seems like the Jays are going to go with a four-man starting rotation, and then periodically they're going to throw in, I guess, a bullpen day. Dustin, do you have any other insight on what they're going to be doing?
I expect them to do the bullpen stuff until the All-Star break. So they probably only need about two more bullpen days, which one would be coming up on Canada Day, and then one other probably on the road against either Detroit or the White Sox, depending on how they kind of rearrange guys with the off day. Um, so that's the short term. I mean, long term, I expect them to look for a guy in trade. Um, you know, the hot prospect in the minors right now is injured, and in terms of the starting pitching, there's not a whole lot of options. Bowden Francis is, he's done okay, but he's not a long-term solution, I don't think. So they're going to look for kind of a Mitch White type of trade, probably before the deadline, likely, you know, before or during the All Star break.
Well, I think managing this four-man starting rotation, if the season does conclude with a playoff berth, you know, I don't think people are going to do it, but I think if John Schneider navigates this well, and we continue to pick up series wins, continue to remain in a playoff spot, I think some credit's got to go to him because you're essentially managing a lot of different arms all at once, and they did talk about it on the broadcast. We are recording on Tuesday, the 27th. So they are playing they are playing the Giants as we speak. And they did talk about, what needs to happen. And John Schneider kind of talking about, he really has to be kind of delicate with, the Gosmans and the Bassetts and the Barrios because, yes, you can let a guy go into the seventh, but do you really want to let him go into the eighth? Because really, you're gonna that arm is just gonna come back up one day sooner.
Yeah, that's true. You know, it's got to be tough to manage a situation like this, especially for a new manager. So, yeah, I agree. I'll give him some credit for that. Um, but yeah, it is going to be tough to do this long term for sure. You know, uh, in a playoff situation, you only need really the four starters. So,
Do you even need that?
um, I mean, I guess you go
I
with
think you could
three.
do it with three, could you? Couldn't you?
Yeah, you could technically, but I mean, you're gonna want four just in case if somebody blows up or you need somebody um, out of the pen. I mean, you definitely don't need five, right? So that's what I'm saying. They're gonna try. They just need a warm body, somebody that can, uh, five and
E-
dive, that can, give them the innings and save. We don't want Trevor Richards. Trevor Richards is more valuable in middle to late innings, relief than he is starting a game.
All right, Dustin, I think that's all the time we have. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks, Al. Take care.